Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Week 4 Module 4 IDS 105 Learning Community webinar. I'm Melanie Shop, your Learning Community gal, and I am really looking forward to just chatting a little bit about the importance of communication this week. Your module for IDS 105 is going to be talking a lot about the importance of communication. You're going to learn about different styles of communication, what communication could look like. You're going to talk about intention versus impact, and then also really considering what it's like to be an online student and the way that we communicate maybe differently than we would if we were in person classes. So, as always, your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of instruction or course design that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the Online Accessibility Center, the OAC, as soon as possible at 866-305-9430. You can also email them at oac@snhu.edu or visit the Online Accessibility Center website. As a reminder, SNHU Connect, the First Year Experience YouTube channel, these webinars and your classroom are all academic spaces. So always be mindful of your conduct. These webinars are not mandatory, they're not graded, there's no extra credit points, but hopefully you will learn things to help you be successful in completing your modules and your assignments from week to week and have a little bit of fun because that's part of this journey too. As we head into this next week for week 4, module 4, I wanted to pause for a minute and celebrate. Y'all, you're at the halfway point of your term. How exciting is that? Week 4 is that halfway point where the next few weeks are going to go fast. And before you know it, you're going to be done with this term and you're going to have one class underneath your belt on your way to get to that graduation stage, right? So, just as a reminder, always make sure you're reviewing and reading those course announcements that your instructor posts from week to week. Don't forget to check your university SNHU email. It's so important. That's how the university and our departments communicate with you. And if you are stuck, you have questions, maybe you've fallen behind, life happens, everybody. It happens to all of us, even your faculty. So if you've fallen behind, you've missed some assignments, or you're stuck on some things, or you're just not sure on something, please, please, please reach out and connect. Email, call, however your faculty member communicates. All of them email, all of them also posted of you phone number. Some of them even text message or will set up meetings and stuff to be with you. So I just want to remind you to go ahead and make sure that you reach out to those instructors or your advisors. Don't hesitate. We want you to be successful. This is your journey. You've put a lot of time and energy into this. So please reach out to us because we want to help you be successful in your course and help you get caught up if you've fallen behind. Other reminders for this week. What's on deck this week for y'all? You will work on your next project draft assignment this week, and you have a discussion assignment this week. So as always, just a reminder that your discussion assignments, when you have those, the initial post is always due by Thursdays at 11:59 p.m. and peer responses, minimum of 2, always by Sunday. But you can, of course, submit it earlier in the week at your convenience. And then your project draft is always due by Sundays, 11:59 p.m., but you can also turn that in earlier in the week at your convenience. With your project draft, as another reminder, you want to make sure you have that Microsoft Word, PDF, something compatible so that you can actually type in that project draft template and answer the questions. Don't give yourself any more extra work. Open up that template you've been using all term so far, type right in it. Just a reminder, video note assignments are not permitted for project drafts. They have to be written. You do get that Office 365 for free. So if you haven't downloaded that, you do have that as an option for you to be able to complete your assignments in your university classes. Do always pay attention to which questions you are answering in those project drafts because they are not necessarily in order. So it's just really important that you guys remember that. And of course, remember for your project draft, you are thinking about the scenario that you chose back in week 2. And you can also draw in any personal experiences. I have a lot of students that ask me questions about the project drafts and, just how to answer things, and they're not sure where to get started. Y'all just be yourself. Think about the chosen scenario you picked, and then you want to think about any personal experiences you have, and you answer the questions. It's you and your instructor that are reviewing this and reading this. And I think sometimes we think that we're maybe going to say the wrong thing or our point's not going to come across effectively. So put the details in there that you need. And if you're stuck or have questions, reach out and work with the Academic Support Writing Services team. Use that written feedback and get with your instructor. So, like I mentioned this week in week 4 for IDS 105, we're talking about communication. This is the big one. You're not going to, I don't think, really learn anything super new about communication in regards to the types of communication. But I do think this module is going to push your comfort level a little bit in considering how you communicate and where you might communicate well, but where are some spots or some things that you could work on. We all have things to work on. None of us are perfect with our communication. I just wanted to remind you that communication comes in so many different forms. There's that verbal communication, which is using spoken words, written communication, which is that written language, like notes, emails, text message, letters, and so on. I feel like that is the one that we use the most in this day and age. But there's also the nonverbal communication. This is body language, y'all. We forget about this. It's your posture, your gestures, and even silence. It is things like your eye contact or lack of eye contact. And then you have visual communication, which is using those visual cues. So I want you to kind of think for a minute, like, how do you best communicate? What do you think that you use most often? As an online student, we do a lot of emails. And your everyday, I know I text message all day long. I used to spend so much time putting ringtones with people and my friends and family. And now if that phone rings, it's like it's on fire. I would rather you text me. I don't know if anybody else is like that. But I do have certain people that we FaceTime and we have those calls too, because that verbal communication is really important. You can hear the emotion behind the voices, you can hear the excitement. Sometimes with written communication, there's not that tone. Like we read into what we think the tone is with those emails and text messages. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I know I sure have. And so I just really want you guys to think about how you communicate with your loved ones, how you communicate with people here at school, at the university, how you communicate with those at work, how you communicate with strangers. We probably use a little bit of different methods. And we might be a little bit more guarded in some situations than other situations and not really reflect our true personality or our true communication style. So I wanted you guys to kind of just be thinking about that because what you will learn a lot about this week in Module 4 is kind of that intent of your communication versus the impact. And in your module this week, it talks a lot about how you might be having a discussion or you say something and it's taken completely the wrong way. If that's not what you meant. You didn't mean it to come off that way. You didn't mean it to sound like that. You didn't mean to say it like that, but that's the way that other people perceived it. So we need to be a little bit more cognizant of how we communicate. What is our intention behind our communication actions? What is the impact that we're hoping to have? Because sometimes when we're really excited about something, or we're really passionate about something, we will just say things and we don't think about how that might come across to other people. Not only other people, but other cultures. We want to make sure that we, in our communication styles, are thinking about everybody, not just ourselves in the end game, right? So it's going to tie right into your guys' discussion this week, which your guys' discussion questions are. Question 1 is to discuss a situation where communication is important. This can be in your daily life, your work life, or your academic life. If you prefer, you can also describe a situation from a show you watched, a book you read, or recent events in the news. So you want to think about a situation where communication is important. So draw upon that and explain it. And then you want to describe your own personal communication style preferences in the situation you described. So like I said earlier, are you somebody that prefers those text messages, those phone calls, emails, more face-to-face? How is it that you would best communicate? And think about that situation when you're answering that question. Kind of helps connect the dots and tie it all together. And then lastly, what communication strategies would help enhance communication in the situation you described? So sometimes we are involved in a situation and things happen. we thought we communicated effectively and we didn't, or maybe we did a really great job and it was a great thing. But maybe something else was missing. So you want to think about that. Like, is there anything else you could have done in that situation to make sure that it would have went better, or that the communication was more open, or the communication was maybe better received, or that everybody was on the same page? That is something we want to always consider too. So this week's discussion is drawing a lot from your guys' personal experiences. But remember, you can also describe a situation from a show you watched or a book you read or a recent event too. Just make sure that you answer all three parts of that question and tie it all together. So that's your initial post, which is due on Thursday at 11:59 p.m. And then remember, minimum of 2 replies to your classmates are always due by Sundays at 11:59 p.m., but you can also turn them in earlier. And make sure when you're replying to your classmates that you are writing more than a sentence or two. That's not going to cut it. Okay. And then we have another project draft. So by now, you guys know we have a template that you are using for those project drafts. You're using the same template over and over. You just want to pay attention to which questions you're answering. As a reminder, when you open up those project drafts, when you go to the module, you're going to see just the quick synopsis of what the different scenarios and conflicts are, but you actually want to go underneath that supporting materials, like scroll down almost all the way to the bottom when you pull up that assignment, and you want to click on scenario profiles, because that gives you all the details, all the information. And then if you want to double check and remind yourself, like, this is how I'm graded, always double check the project guidelines and rubric. But a lot of times students miss that scenario profile. So when you scroll down underneath that journal, you'll see it in the blue. So here for your next project draft, which is for week 4, module 4, you want to pay attention to what questions you're answering, because they are out of order. If you remember last week in module 3, they were more at the end of this section, but your questions are underneath that part 2 area, and I highlighted them for you right here. You're going to answer question 1, 2, and 3. But when you guys open up the template, it's not highlighted. So make sure you're paying attention to what questions you're answering for module 4. So your questions this week are: describe how an awareness of other cultures can benefit interpersonal communication with people in this scenario. So we've talked a lot about communication this week, your discussions about communication. You're going to be thinking about your own communication style and preferences. So just tie it in with your scenario and answer it the best that you can. Question 2 is: describe how exposure to diverse backgrounds can positively influence communication in a scenario. And then question 3, explain why an awareness of diversity is beneficial to collaboration in this scenario. So make sure you're answering those questions detailed enough so that your instructor can understand the point you're trying to make and the perspective that you are coming from. And if you have questions or you get stuck, remember to always reach out to your instructor. This is also a great time to use the academic support writing services. You can find that in your Brightspace Classroom. Click on academic support and then click on the I need help with homework, and that's the written feedback area. You can submit your work right to them. They get it back to you within 12 hours, which is really a quick turnaround for you and for your success. Just an extra set of eyes to make sure that you're on the right track with answering those questions. It's a great service, and students always tell me how much they appreciate the feedback that they get. Just as a reminder, remember that communication is key, y'all. We have so many different ways to communicate in our everyday reality, from phone, text messaging, emails, FaceTiming and Google Hangout. There's just, there's Be Real, there's Snapchat, there's Instagram, there's Facebook. I mean, it's endless. There's so many ways to communicate and reach out and support each other. And with that, right, always comes a caveat of making sure that we're really putting our best self forward and thinking about others when we are communicating, in addition to what we are looking for or asking, right? So just a reminder, if you are stuck, if you have questions, if you have fallen behind, you're not sure about something, please reach out. Communication is key, and you do not have to go this journey alone. We are here to support you in your success. And I really think you're going to enjoy this week's module. It's going to tie directly into everyday life that is applicable outside of school and inside of school. So happy week 4, everybody. Congratulations on making it to the halfway point, and I'll see you guys for week 5. You got this.